These are small habits you can do every day to become that girl.
That girl.
That girl.
That girl.
That girl. It's time to make my 2024 vision board.
If you don't believe in vision boards, you're doing it wrong. It's not just some woo-woo, put images on your wall and they'll come.
If you look at anybody's vision board, you know what's on it? Beach houses and $1 million and a Maserati, the finishing line at the New York City Marathon.
Have you ever been to a Tony Robbins event?
I read his 5th Bible.
His Unleash the Power Within events.
And I am on fire. I feel like $1 million. I feel like I could pick up the building and throw it down the street.
2021 broke. 2022 changed. 2023 opened my eyes. 2020, I'm coming.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Some people believe that motivation is the key ingredient to reach your goals and dreams. Get the life that you've always been dreaming of, or even just to complete overwhelming tasks or things on your to-do list. And this time of year, you may notice an influx, an overload of the motivational content that you are being served on your social media feeds. I'm talking YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and the big baddie, TikTok. And whether or not you find yourself obsessed with this type of content and find yourself on this side of the internet often, or you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, I hope that you find this video interesting today. It's midway through January right now, and I'm sure some of you know the content that I'm talking about. The YouTube Shorts, the Reels, the endless TikTok videos that are aesthetically pleasing, they're aspirational, and they're helping you. Or are they? You want to lose weight? There are endless short and punchy videos featuring beautifully toned, fit women drinking green juices, doing Pilates, going for their hot girl walks, flaunting their body, trying to inspire you to get your butt into gear. Do you want to become a millionaire? There are thousands of rich women flaunting their big diamond rings, their beautiful penthouse overlooking Central Park, their private jets, their island hopping adventures, their fast cars, their endless shopping hauls, making you believe that it's simply the result of manifestation.
I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am rich, I am that.
Want to bag a rich husband? There are endless videos online teaching you how to become the woman of their dreams. There is an overload of Plan With Me videos featuring women who you may assume are more successful than you because they have these beautiful, aesthetically pleasing planners. The term vision board has a whopping 1.2 million hashtag users on Instagram, and not to mention endless amounts of YouTube videos. Honestly, Plan With Me videos aren't far off those numbers. Check out some of these Plan With Me videos. All the weekly planners include beautiful handwriting, pretty colored pens, beautiful, cute, colorful stickers, and perfectly aesthetically pleasing layouts. And I say that as someone who used to be one of those people that would spend lots of money on those cute little stickers and those colorful little pens, and not to mention the hours that I would spend on my Sunday trying to make my planner look the most aesthetically pleasing and decorating it each week.
Oh, and it's scented. I think it gives it a little something extra, don't you think?
Until I actually came to the realization that personally, like for me personally, doing that actually had no correlation to whether or not I actually even achieved what I set out to intend to achieve, and whether or not I even met the tasks and the goals that I'd set for my week. On social media, you will find thousands of ways to plan your time. You know, there's the classic to-do lists, the time blocking, the 2-minute rule. In the same day, you can read articles on how to effectively multitask to boost productivity. And you can also read how multitasking apparently kills your productivity. And of course, there is the age-old debate. Is digital planning better, or is old school pen and paper better? The list goes on. Let's not forget the vision boards, the apparent key to your success. Let me know in the comments down below if you've done a vision board, if you engage in vision boards, and if you haven't, or if you don't worry, I haven't done one this year yet either. Millennials are obsessed with self-improvement, and like I said, I would know. I used to be one of them. And for me, I think it was verging on an unhealthy obsession. Don't get me wrong, guys, okay? I have dreams and goals just like the next person. But I think that my forever obsession with self-improvement is at a lot healthier place than it used to be. So I really want to talk to you about today whether or not the motivational content that you are being served on social media is actually beneficial for you, or if it's simply another distraction. Let's talk about it. I think a lot of human beings have an innate desire for self-improvement and just bettering themselves in general. Because without change, you're basically just stagnant. And I think a lot of the human experience is about enhancing our well-being, our happiness, and our success. Motivation is defined as an internal state that propels individuals to engage in goal-directed behavior. It is often understood as a force that explains why people or animals initiate, continue, or terminate a certain behavior at a particular time. It is a complex phenomenon, and its precise definition is often disputed. There's actually so much discourse online on whether or not motivation even exists. I would personally label the motivation content that we see online under the self-help umbrella, and the self-help industry as a whole is worth a whopping $13.4 billion. I think the first month of every year, I think for a majority of people, is always considered a fresh start, a new beginning. Hashtag new year, new me. And this social media frenzy doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. You know, when we think of the popular viral videos of the that girl trend, giving you a step-by-step guide on how to become that girl, how to transform yourself into that girl, whoever the hell she is. And I will be talking more about this later. I think the that girl trend is just a fancy new way of packaging up the same motivational content that we have been sold for years. I think now, reflecting on the whole that girl trend, I think it's verging a little bit on the toxic side of the internet. And I just want to say as well, like, earlier last year was heavily involved in the that girl trend. Like, I partook in it. I was wanting to become that girl. And according to this popular TikTok trend, 2023 was your warm-up, and 2024 is the main event. I don't know about you, but I find that so cringy. I know some of you may be thinking, Caitlin, come on, you're being so negative. You're showing the worst of the worst. And you know what? I agree, like, I am showing the worst of the worst, and of course there are some benefits, and I would be lying if I told you that I thought it was all trash. I do think there are actually some great creators and some good content out there, but much like everything on social media, you have to really pick through the trash to find the gems, or, you know, even just sift through the content to find the good methods and what actually works for you. And that can be quite time consuming. I personally contribute a lot of the techniques and the things I've learned about reaching my goals and making the most of my time from, you know, the things that I found on the internet, the podcasts I've listened to, the books that I've read, you know, conversations that I've seen and YouTube videos that I've watched. I wouldn't be where I am today in regards to those things if it wasn't for social media. So I do definitely think that certain types of motivational content has a place and can be beneficial. But I also think that there is a side of the internet now that motivational content is very much trendy, especially now in January, but it's verging on toxic. For me personally, I find long form content to be a lot more beneficial for motivational content, or even just snippets of some of those conversations broken down into more short form content to be more beneficial. Especially on TikTok, I don't think those are the videos that perform the best. The most popular videos on TikTok, you know, the ones I'm talking about, short punchy bursts of half naked, beautifully sculpted women drinking lemon water, living in a mansion surrounded by beautiful things, and these particular TikToks are filled with comments from users saying that they are manifesting this. This is going to be theirs in 2024. And there's a new one that I actually saw. I mean, I don't know how new it is, but I saw it so much, and it's like, I claim this, or claiming this. And while I was researching for this video, and while I was like looking through a lot of these kind of motivational, what I found to be cringy videos, I saw this comment come up a lot, you know, like, I claim this, claiming this. And my old millennial was like, what the hell does that mean? So, you know, I went on my little Google search, and essentially, apparently, according to Google, it is a form of manifestation. So if you claim something, if you type claiming this, or I claim this on a video, apparently it's more likely to happen, or it's more likely to come true for you. And to me, call me crazy, but it reminds me of the chain emails that we'd get sent in middle school that were like, send this on to 10 of your friends, otherwise Bloody Mary will come and haunt you in the middle of the night. So, you know, you better start typing I claim this on every TikTok video that you think is cool, otherwise it's not gonna happen for you. And on that note, if you don't like, comment, share, subscribe to today's video, Flinny and I will come and haunt you in your sleep. And you know, while you're there, actually, send it on in an email to 10 of your friends. While researching for this video, I saw multiple TikTok comments from the same people claiming certain things, like, you know, claiming left, right, and center. A part of me wondered, like, Does that person have, you know, that multi-million-dollar mansion yet? Or have they put in any work to getting to that point? Or are they just spending hours on TikTok claiming this and that and nothing's happening? As much as a hater as I may sound, it did make me wonder. Call me crazy, but like I said, watching long-form content from both men and women who I find to be intelligent people who have actually created a dream life of their own on their own terms, I find more beneficial. I find more motivating than a lot of what I see scrolling around and roaming around on TikTok. Why that is just because these long form conversations give more of step-by-step guides. They give more tangible advice on how to actually reach your goals. Versus a lot of the videos, a lot of the viral videos that I see on TikTok, the videos that do really well and blow up of, you know, random mansions, sports cars, people on private jets, you know, women carrying like 10 shopping bags. A lot of them almost seem like stock images or just images that have been taken from Pinterest. And they almost always have texts that say something like, make this your year, or aim for this, or make this yours in 2024. And call me crazy, but that doesn't really do much for me. Like, if anything, it just leaves me more confused. Like, okay, well, like, how do I get to there? How do I get to there? Like, what path should I take? And then it leaves me wondering, like, what path did that person take to get there? They almost never tell you, except every now and again. Every now and again, you may find one of these videos and they're telling you to put this on your vision board. As if it's just as simple as that. And look, as somebody who has made vision boards for most of my 20s and then proceeded to kick myself for not completing said goals or really getting anywhere and following through with any of the pretty pictures that I stuck on my vision boards, I know all too well about vision boards, okay? I was the woman that would spend her weekends skipping through the self-help aisle looking for the next book that was going to be the one, you know, that was going to change my life. Sure as hell wasn't last book. I was the woman who spent a whopping 10 years in regular therapy. I, throughout my 20s, attended, I think, like 4 or 5 Tony Robbins events. Yes, I was part of the Tony Robbins cult. We'll get more into that later. And as recently as early last year, I attended Matthew McConaughey's kind of like first ever self-help event. It was like a virtual free event. It was called Road Trippin', which was truly like one of the biggest wastes of my time. That was the light bulb moment where I realized that I had wasted an entire day. I think it was somewhere like between 5 and 8 hours watching a free live event of Matthew McConaughey's. And I got to the point where I got to the end of the event and I realized that I had learned nothing that I didn't already know. I thought he was going to show or share something with me that I didn't already know, okay, that was just going to change my life. And don't get me wrong, I actually really enjoyed his particular book, Green Lights. I really liked that book. But his self-help event, not so much. I kind of just put this down to the fact that maybe this, you know, wasn't my first rodeo. You know, like I said, used to skip down self-help aisles, jolly and merry, you know, multiple Tony Robbins events. I was one of those people obsessed with self-help and self-help books and just self-help education. After I finished that 8-hour-ish Matthew McConaughey event, that is the moment that I realized, like, that is the moment for me that I threw in the towel, okay? I threw the rule book in the trash, threw all caution to the wind, threw out my vision board and didn't make another one. And you know what's funny? I had one of the best years that I've ever had last year. But some of you may be wondering, like, how could that be? You didn't follow through with your vision board, you know? Logic, not really logic, social media tells us if we do not create a vision board, we are doomed for failure. Doomed to a life of mediocrity. You are simply lacking motivation. You are lazy, apparently. You are unmotivated to continue the quest to self-discovery and self-betterment. If you don't create a vision board, apparently you are unlikely to reach the greatest version of yourself. I don't know if I believe that anymore. I learned a very valuable lesson last year at that Matthew McConaughey event. And, like, don't get me wrong, okay? I don't hold anything against the guy. I think he's really attractive. I like the movies that he's in. And I like the way he talks. I think he sounds like a nice guy. Hold nothing against him. But what I realized about myself during that event was I was stuck in the trap, the loop, the continual cycle of just churning out, chowing down on motivational content and manifestation, which, don't get me wrong, I actually don't think is anything wrong with it, and I think it can be very beneficial. But the problem is I wasted 5 to 8 hours and I was wasting time on content without actually following through with any of it, without actually putting into practice things that I was learning or things that I know I should do. And that in there, my friend, lies the problem. That 8 hours I spent listening to Matthew McConaughey talk about, you know, various things that really to me just sounded like a bunch of nothing. I could have spent that 8 hours actually working on my life, my goals, the things that I wanted to achieve. And that's when I had my light bulb moment. I want to switch gears slightly and I want to talk about the two different types of motivations. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Let me know in the comments down below. Have you, and are you familiar with intrinsic and extrinsic motivation? Both types of motivation are, I think, important ways of driving behavior. I think if you are able to understand the difference between the two motivations, you're better able to gain an understanding of yourself and how social media and the businesses behind a lot of the content that you might be consuming is either helping you or hindering you. Being able to identify your intrinsic and extrinsic motivators can be a really great way to become more efficient, feel more satisfied, and just achieve growth in your life. So intrinsic motivation is basically the concept of when you feel energized to complete a task because it's personally rewarding to you. In other words, you're actually doing something because of some internal force or some internal drive, as opposed to an external force or reward, which is basically extrinsic motivation. So with intrinsic motivation, the behavior itself is what drives you, whereas extrinsic motivation, the reward or the avoiding of punishment is actually what drives you. And I mean, look, I'm no expert, but I do think that most of these toxic, what I consider toxic, posts on TikTok are really focused on more of the external reward, in my opinion. And I don't think it's actually teaching you anything tangible. In the case of extrinsic motivation, you're actually completing a task or doing something not because you enjoy the process or not because you like it or find it satisfying. You're actually completing it because you want to avoid an unpleasant feeling or you think you're going to get something in return. And I think a lot of these short little motivational TikTok videos are kind of packaged as pretty manifesting kind of content. And some may argue they are really inspiring. And I guess you could say they are. They're pretty and they're inspirational. But I believe that a lot of them are using extrinsic motivation to basically just distract you and get your clicks and ultimately waste your time. You know, when we think about the videos that I've talked about, the lavish penthouse apartments, the fancy cars, the luxurious shopping trips, the quick little bursts of holiday shots, the luxurious huge designer closets that are all promised to you, aka your rewards, also known as extrinsic motivation. And look, can I just say, as someone who has experienced a lot of those things, happiness, it does not equal, okay? But look, I'm not going to go too far into that because, you know, I banged that drum for most of last year. So a lot of you know that's how I feel. But I just thought it was worth adding it again. The main difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation is intrinsic motivation comes from within, whereas extrinsic motivation comes from the outside. I think for me personally, they can actually differ on how effective they are and how beneficial they are. Don't get me wrong, I think there is a place for extrinsic motivation, especially, you know, in the workplace if you're working towards a specific reward or maybe a promotion or a pay rise. And, you know, doing certain things you might find unpleasant in the workplace, extrinsic motivation may be a good use for that. But in terms of intrinsic motivation, for me personally, to make big changes in my life, it works more when I tap into my intrinsic motivation. When I've tried in the past to tap more into extrinsic motivation, I just end up feeling lack of drive and it ends up just not being sustainable long term, and it ends up just me kind of burning out and getting lazy again and not really feeling like it's worth it. I think intrinsic motivation for me is more beneficial for long-term progress, long-term goals that I'm trying to reach. And the results feel more long-lasting, and I think it does lead to more like long-lasting overall behavior change and lifestyle changes. I want to kind of give you some examples of the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation may be you want to keep your room clean, or you want to tidy your room because you like it clean and you like the feeling of it being clean. Whereas extrinsic motivation is keeping your room tidy so your mum doesn't ground you. You're trying to avoid that punishment. Another example is working out and going to the gym because you genuinely enjoy the feeling, you genuinely enjoy the process. Whereas, you know, working out trying to get fit so that you could bag a hot girlfriend or boyfriend, reading a book about a subject that actually interests you is intrinsic motivation, whereas reading a book to impress someone else or to get a good grade in school is considered extrinsic motivation. Creating a YouTube channel because you actually want to help people and you find it personally rewarding versus extrinsic motivation, which is creating a YouTube channel because you're hoping to get free stuff, you want to become Instagram famous, and you want to become rich. And don't get me wrong, I do think that for day-to-day tasks, extrinsic motivation can be more beneficial. You know, like we talked about, bonuses, commissions, prizes may be the best way to actually motivate people to perform certain like unfulfilling or just hard, annoying tasks. That type of motivation does have its place in the world, and it is beneficial in some cases. But I think where the problem lies is on TikTok is we're just basically served these short punchy videos filled with extrinsic motivation, the way things look, the aesthetically pleasing pretty package, you know, the way things will be perceived by others, the look of everything, how pretty everything looks, how expensive things are, instead of the intrinsic motivation of why you're doing the things that you're doing. And I think that type of motivation, kind of enjoying the process and falling in love with the process, is what leads to more like long-term change and just more habit change and lifestyle changes, which automatically lead to just a change in your life. Your goals are really just a collection and an accumulation of your habits, your daily habits accumulated over, you know, days, weeks, months, and years. Let's say that there's two people who want to find the love of their lives, okay? Let me know in the comments down below which person you think is more likely to find the love of their life, okay? We've got person A. Person A spends 2 hours a day watching videos on, you know, dating advice and how to bag the love of their life, and, you know, the different types of manifestation content we see about, you know, pretty couples just living off happy, frolicking off in the sunset. They scroll through TikToks, they spend hours reading these books by these dating experts. Maybe they've purchased some courses from dating experts, and they practice manifestation. You know, they journal about meeting the love of their life. They stand in the mirror every day and say, this is the year 2024, I'm going to meet the love of my life in 2024. They stand in the mirror and they recite this to themselves. Or person B. Person B spends half an hour a day, you know, on dating apps, swiping, catching up with messages from potential matches. They've promised themselves, they made a goal that they're going to go on a minimum of one date, whether that be just like weekly or fortnightly, but they've made a minimum goal that they're trying to reach of how many dates they go on. They have let their friends, their family, their co-workers know, hey, I'm single, I'm looking for someone. If you know anyone that might be interested, think of me, let me know, you know, I'm available. They actually look for new hobbies. They have joined certain sporting clubs or sporting groups or outdoor activities or, you know, cooking classes or things that they're interested in. They've joined various Facebook groups that, you know, organize monthly meetups in hopes to meet somebody new. Don't get me wrong, person B also may engage in manifestation, journaling, reading dating books or listening to podcasts, but they do it maybe while they're on their daily commute, or they do it while they're on the treadmill or at the gym. Do you get what I'm saying? They kind of put in the effort, they put in some work. And of course, like, I feel the need to say, trust me, I have known of people who literally did nothing, but put in no effort, because I do believe that it does happen from time to time. It definitely does, you know, women who have to call an electrician or a plumber and this man of their dreams shows up and next thing you know, they're married. But of course we cannot all be Cameron Diaz from The Holiday, okay? Jude Law is not just going to show up to our house at, you know, 2 a.m. drunk and incredibly sexy. I think person B, though, has a greater chance of getting to the end goal and getting what they want out of life. I have literally wasted hours of my days and weeks scrolling motivational content, setting up my color-coded planners with my pretty little stickers and my pretty little highlighted sections and my, you know, pretty little glittery pens, readjusting my vision board every so often, but that actually didn't get me any closer to the life that I actually wanted. And it won't for you either if you aren't actually putting in any work. And that's the thing where I think a lot of these TikToks kind of verge on toxic, because it almost makes it seem like you don't need to put in any work, you know, just chuck it on your vision board and wish it away and it will just plop, fall in your lap. And look, don't get me wrong, if you engage in these types of things, if you love doing vision boards, if you love planning your week pretty and aesthetic because it works for you, or you know, maybe you find it mindful, like you find it therapeutic, you find it a way to unwind and relax, like go off, sis, like go off. Like I absolutely believe in doing things just for the enjoyment, or also doing things because you find them relaxing. You've got to do what works for you, but don't fall into the trap that I fell in where you expect that these things are going to change your life solely, because they're not. Like, you change your life by putting in the work that's necessary, even just the small changes daily. I've never talked to you about this, but there was a period of my life, like when I was in my teenage years, early 20s, where I attended probably, I think like 4 Tony Robbins events year in, year out. And the thing about these events is they're very exhausting. You know, we're talking long days, like 16-hour days. And not to mention that it's kind of expensive. You know, you've got to pay for the ticket to the event, the flights, the accommodation, the days that you're missing work. But I would come back with this like new zest, and I was always so invigorated as much as I was truly exhausted. Like I would always feel like I was coming back a new person, even though I was like truly exhausted. And I would spend, you know, a day or two in bed recovering because I'd literally lost my voice and I was just like flat out exhausted. But I would always come back with this idea that I'm going to get to my goals. Yep, I'm going to get to it. Just give me 2 days to recover and I'm going to get on with it. You know, I'm just going to change my life. And funnily, you know, those 2 days would just end up turning into weeks. You know, I would think I was doing something and I was really just procrastinating. I was, you know, going over my notes, my hours of notes that I jotted down, rewatching the videos, checking in with the Facebook group, you know, interacting with the other members, liking their wins and the things that they were sharing, or when they would share posts about the things they wanted to achieve, I was, you know, in there cheering them on in the comments. This motivation and this kind of like zest for life was really quite short-lived for me personally. In a few weeks, I would be back to my old life wondering why nothing had changed and why I was no closer to my goals and my dream life. And I think it comes down to, for me, these events, they weren't like long-term sustainable change. You know, they were short bursts of motivation. They were short bursts of inspiration that when you have such a big high and such a fast rocket ship to, you know, oh my God, this is amazing. I feel amazing. My life's incredible. Motivation, yes. The hustle, go. The come down is just as quick and just as fast. And the longer I actually started going to these events, as bad as it sounds, I realized that I was seeing kind of the same people. And realizing that a lot of them, their lives were no different either. Obviously, there are some examples of some incredible people that go to these events, change their lives, transform themselves. But they knew something that I didn't, and a lot of other people at these events didn't know either. I feel the need to say, I actually really like a lot of these Tony Robbins events. I've got some really great memories from these events, and I enjoyed my time at these events. And even still to this day, there are certain people in my life or certain situations that people are going through, and they may ask me, you know, should I go to a Tony Robbins event? Or I will say, yeah, absolutely. Or I'd recommend it to them because truly I enjoyed those experiences that I took part in. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if you are like what I was at one point, attending these events year in, year out, thinking that that's what's going to make a change to your life, you might have a problem. You might have a problem like me. You might be on this continuous loop of this obsession with these motivational content and this kind of like this community of motivation and inspiration, self-help and, you know, self-development. Because if you find yourself going to these events year in, year out without actually making changes to your life throughout the rest of the year, it might be a waste of money and time. You might be obsessed with the experience of attending these events, the way it makes you feel. You may be obsessed and you may be gathering all these tools and all this knowledge, but without actually using it, it's not really beneficial. You might actually be more interested in collecting and being part of these events, feeling like you're making a change, but less interested in actually putting in the work. One of the biggest habits for me, I'll say it again, but you know, the small daily habits. And I learned that from that book, Automic Habits by James Clear. I read that last year. That was quite a good self-help book. One of the best books that I read last year, actually. And, you know, obviously I am not as obsessed with that space as I used to be, but I still like to engage in that type of content. I still like to learn things from time to time. I got a lot out of that book. I really enjoyed it. Something that I actually realized last year is you gain the same psychological, I guess the same psychological feelings and the same excitement from either writing something down, fantasizing about it, dreaming about a goal, than you actually do achieving it. Like the feelings can be similar, if not the same. What I want you to do is not let your brain trick you into thinking that you're actually doing something, because it's done that to me before. You know, it may be really fun and it's a good way to kind of boost that momentum to fantasize, to dream, to manifest, to write things down. But it's literally the bare minimum. It's going to make you feel good, but what you need to know is it's not actually moving you very far into the direction you need to go in. Like you need to take that next step, if that makes any sense. I don't know about you, but I'm someone who will write down my goals, write down the things that I want to achieve, and I just feel incredible. I'm like, oh my God, yes! It's a very similar feeling. Don't let your brain trick you into thinking that that's enough. You know, doing that is that's all you need to do, because it's not. You actually have to put in the work. Your brain is very good at tricking you into having that kind of feel-good moment, And then you're like, okay, that's me done for the day. If you're someone like me who has spent as much time as I have, you know, gathering knowledge, gathering information, listening to podcasts, and if you're a perfectionist especially, I can guarantee you that you know everything there is. You basically know everything there is for you to at least get to phase 1, but you actually have to make the move. I found this particular TikTok, I'll see if I can insert it, but it was basically this TikTok sharing, you know, their goals, what they want for their year, their punchy little video, bang, 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 all these like pretty images, pretty videos. And someone in the comments was saying like, yes, like that is my future, that's gonna be me. And I checked the date stamp and that TikTok was made in August. And I was like, again, like I'm guilty of this. Why do we put off this change where like, yeah, like that's gonna be me then? It's like, start now. Like that could be you literally today. Like that could be you. You could start that process of getting where you need to go and be today. And these TikToks have thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes. And I think a lot of them are a distraction. I'm going to insert this thread that I found on a vision board, you know, this girl, I don't know how old she is, but she was like, oh, I put all this on my vision board and it didn't come true last year. And somebody commented, you actually need to put in the work. And she said, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start that next year. And it's like, I mean, bless her. But I do think that there's definitely this kind of toxic side of the manifestation space where people genuinely believe that all they have to do is like cut out and scrapbook pretty little pictures on a vision board and that's all they need to do. And as fun as it is and as kind of motivating as it can feel, if you don't actually do anything after that, it's just kind of like a feel-good activity. I do think that putting so much kind of emphasis on 2024 being your year, like don't get me wrong, I think every year should be your year, but sometimes I worry that can almost discourage people if they get knocked off course, because you have no idea what this year's going to hold and have in store for you. You know, you don't know how or when or in what way you may potentially get knocked off the horse. You know, we never know what the future holds for us. We never know what our future holds for our health, our business, our loved ones. And I would hate for people to become discouraged by a little hiccup in the road and feel like, oh, well, this must not be my year. Like, I'm just going to pick back up next year. I think that that's not the good energy and that's not the good vibe to have. You know, some of the goals that you may want to achieve could take years. Our paths are not linear to success. You know, our paths are not a straight line. I think her name's Mel Robbins. She said it best. I'm going to share this particular TikTok that she talked about. And it's a snippet from a larger conversation, aka long form content, where she talks about what's wrong with, I think, a lot of vision boards.
If you look at anybody's vision board, you know what's on it? Beach houses and $1 million and a Maserati, the finishing line at the New York City Marathon, and all the things that you hope and dream for. And the reason why that's a huge mistake is that if the only thing that is on your vision board is the thing that's going to take you 10 years to get done, as you sit here in your studio apartment or in the spare bedroom of your parents' house at a desk in the corner, and you stare at a $10 million beach house, oh my God, that is going to feel so far away. Instead of that vision board keeping your dreams front and center, that vision board is rubbing them in your face. It's not motivating at all. Why? Manifesting is not just hoping and wishing. Manifesting is training your mind, body, and spirit to do the work to make that beach house a reality. You need to start visualizing the hard, the scary, the irritating steps that are going to get you there. That's what you're going to put on the vision board.
I also want to talk about the whole that girl trend. I feel like it's still going strong. Like I said, I partook in this trend and I now don't really like it. And I love this particular girl. I'm going to share her TikTok.
Hi, my name's Natalia, and I have a few things to say about the that girl trend. While this trend might look aesthetically pleasing, healthy, and inspirational, it can be very toxic in the way that it only shows the highlights and can lead to lots of unhealthy comparison of what a healthy and productive lifestyle should look like. For younger girls, it can put the idea that in order to be beautiful, you have to be her. Her is someone who wakes up before 7 a.m., is obsessed with Pilates, has a green juice every morning, and a minimalistic apartment. The reality is not everyone can afford to go to Pilates every day, and sometimes a green juice just doesn't sound appetizing. Most videos I've seen of this trend are privileged white girls, and it doesn't take account of mental health or finances. Like, what if I want to wake up at 11 a.m. one day and skip a workout and go out? I'm still that girl because I'm listening to my body and letting myself rest while also prioritizing balance. The that girl trend makes health seem more aesthetic than the actual practice of taking care of yourself. Even myself as a health and wellness content creator, it has become very overwhelming seeing these videos and feeling like I am not enough because I was tired and decided to not wash my dishes last night. No one should feel like they're not enough because of a certain aesthetic that is not one size fits all. We are all unique and have our own versions of health, so instead of seeing the girl drinking her green juice at 7 a.m. and you're feeling inadequate because you're waking up at 10 a.m. and you still live with your parents or your apartment's messy, please just know that you are enough, and I'm so freaking proud of you.
I understand that this type of content is rooted in like inspiration and motivation to literally become the best version of yourself. I even fell for that, okay? I even fell for that kind of aspirational side of the that girl trend. Natalia pointed out, it's definitely, I personally think, more about the aesthetics rather than how things actually feel. It's more about how things look. And for that, as well as many other reasons, it's why I believe that this trend is a little bit toxic. I guess to round out today's video, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me while researching this video, and one of the biggest things that I want to take into my 2024, is to spend less time online, less time on social media being distracted, watching other people live their lives, and make the effort to live mine. And I would encourage you to do the same, make more of an effort to live your life as opposed to just watching other people on social media live theirs. While you're watching somebody plan out their year, plan out their goals, talk about everything they achieved last year, and all the goals that they want to set for themselves next year, keep in mind these people are strangers, a lot of them. You could be working on your life. You could be working on your goals. I'm guilty of that in the past. I used to sit down and watch people talk about all the things they've achieved and all the things that they're wanting to do in 2024. And I realized it was clouding my wants and what I wanted for my future. Because really, and I guess you could argue that this kind of content is inspirational and it helps to give you some inspiration for what you could want. But that's why I think sometimes I go a bit wrong, is like I personally believe that we don't need to know necessarily what other people are doing to know what we want to achieve. Like we have everything inside us that we need to know what we want for our future. But I think sometimes when we look too much at other people's lives is when we lose sight of who we truly are and what we truly want. As corny as that may sound. I don't know, you may disagree. Let me know in the comments down below. I don't know if this is just something that happens when you reach 30. Let me know in the comments down below. I used to be obsessed with self-improvement, and I still have a desire to improve, a desire to grow better. But I almost feel like I've reached a bit more of a healthier, balanced place. And I think I would love to see this for just women in general. I'd love to see the trend of more self-acceptance. I think if we could find a better balance and more of an equal balance in both self-improvement but self-acceptance, I think that would be amazing. Is motivational content actually going to improve your life, or is it just another distraction? I personally would love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Like I said, I think there are so many great content creators and so much great information out there. I personally prefer long form content. I think I've said that like 3 times now. But I do think that there is also now, I'm seeing a big trend of just so much toxic videos and toxic motivation, manifestation. And I don't think it's that helpful. I think these short, punchy videos that just share with you, pop it on a vision board, the penthouse, the cars, the luxury, the bags, the rich husband, the big diamond ring, like that's manifestation. That's what you should achieve. That's almost like what a lot of people want for their lives now. And I get it. I guess it looks beautiful. It looks flashy. But again, it's all about the looks, isn't it? It's all about how everything looks. And I don't know. I do think it's kind of a bit toxic motivation. I prefer videos that show tangible steps on how to get somewhere, as opposed to just these like flashy little punchy, packaged up, pretty little TikTok videos. So a recent study, I think it was as recent as like October 2023, found that the average TikTok user spends about 95 minutes per day on the app, and they open it a minimum of 8 times, okay? And look, as somebody who's found themselves in the depth of TikTok sometimes, that ain't hard to do, okay? That ain't hard to do. If my maths is correct, which let me just say maths is not my strong suit. I've got to pull up my numbers. Give me a second. If my calculations are correct, 1.5 times 7 is 10.5. I'm going to be super embarrassed, by the way, if this is wrong. Maths is not my strong suit. 1.5 times 7 is 10.5 hours a week. Times that by 52 weeks of the year, that is 546 hours a year. So I think that's almost 23 days of the year. 23 days of people's year. Some TikTok users, I don't know, maybe mine's not far off. 23 days of the year can be spent, like the whole day, 23 entire days on TikTok. I think that's a lot of short form content to be consuming. Think of what you could achieve if you literally spent 23 entire days, like all the hours of those 23 days, putting your time somewhere else. I would love to know, have you ever found yourself in the loop, the little hamster wheel of motivational content like I have? I'd love to hear your thoughts and everything that you think of today's video. Please share with me your thoughts. I'm really excited. This is kind of my first well-researched video. My flow will get better. I'm just investing in some more equipment at the moment. My flow will get better. The setup will get better. I like to think that things will get a little bit better. So just thank you so much for sticking with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm going to have another few links for you. If you haven't had enough of me just yet, feel free to go over there. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. And like I said, you know, smash that like button. Leave me a comment or Flinny will come and haunt you. Flinny will come and haunt you, okay? Those little snorts, you'll hear them in your sleep, okay? You will, and you will not be able to get back to sleep, trust me. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.